Testing, testing. Ooh, like a giant head on your screen. Okay. Um, Welcome back. This is Charisse Sue out on a limb, out on that entrepreneurial limb. And thank you for returning for this week's episode. I'm going to get comfortable. Um, okay, so last week I had promised to share uh, that tool that really motivated me to switch tracks in my business. And I do still think that that's a critical piece of information for you. And so I'll share that right now. What I was referring to is the book by Stephen Pressfield, Going Pro, which was earth shattering for me because I realized that up until that moment, even though I had been calling myself a professional, I had been acting like an amateur. So I'm blushing just thinking about it. So here's actually my moment of being vulnerable, which is what I really want to talk about this week. It's what has been coming up with my clients and friends and conversations all week long, and what I'm feeling called to speak about today. So that's where we're going. So I will give you links below to where to find Going Pro, and also how I was introduced to it was through an interview of Stephen Pressfield by Marie Forleo on her weekly show. And I watched that video obsessively before I just buckled down and bought the book, and it was amazing. And I recommend his other works as well. They're just fantastic for entrepreneurs, and they really get right to the heart of how we can often be the one obstacle between ourselves and greatness. So enough about Stephen and more about me. No, I'm just kidding. So what I wanted to talk about is vulnerability. And this has come up in the context of one of the ways that I help my clients is through creating content or coaching them in creating their own content. So a question I'm often asked is, how much is too much? So as we're creating our About Me pages, or say you've been asked by your coach to write your compelling story, what is it that drives you to do your business, the source of your passion? And in the telling of that story, the telling of that story is telling, right? Because there are moments where you want to hold back and you don't want to share something. What I want to do today is encourage you, invite you to, when you stumble across those moments in your story and you have that little fear or the shame that's saying, don't share this piece. Maybe people will judge me. Maybe they're going to want to look away. What I say to you is those pieces of ourselves that we hold on to the tightest, that are bound up in all of that fear and shame, are often the handholds by which our reader, our clients, it's an entryway for them to come in and join us on our journeys, which is really what we're asking them to do, isn't it? So wade past the fear and do it anyway, right? So how much is too much? How do you know? Okay, is this really critical for my clients to know about? Is this important? And of course, it's going to be within the context of your business and what you're sharing, who your client is. But many of the people that I work with are service-based entrepreneurs. They are working one-on-one with clients, and they are often like a future version of their ideal client, right? Tell me if this sounds familiar, where you got into what you're doing because you've been there. You've been where your clients are now. You know that it can get better, and you know how to get them there. And so they're seeing you in this future iteration. And how do you give them that entry point, that invitation that says, I've been where you are. I know who you are. I used to be you. In fact, I am still you, right? I'm just like a little bit further out on the limb, right? Exactly. So for me, the deciding factor in terms of what is too much and what is not enough. So I think we talked about what is not enough, right? It's not enough to stop where your fear stops you. Don't let it do that. Okay, that's your ego talking. And just say, thank you, ego, for your opinion. But now I'd like to speak with my higher self and my soul and say, is this a critical piece of information for my clients? So that brings me to my point of how do you know whether this is the right thing to say and what is too much? Ask yourself, what is my intention? By sharing this, am I serving my clients? How can I better serve them? That's what it boils down to. So, we've had plenty, right, in the media of overshares. Yeah, I think we're familiar with that. We've all seen the guilty pleasures. We've all witnessed at least, the baby daddy stories on Jerry Springer or Maury Povich or whatever, right? So it's not a like, well, poor me moment. It may be, but it's not coming from that perspective of, feel sorry for me, pay attention to me, love me, right? That's not where this is coming from. It's coming from a place of how can this nugget that I'm holding on to that's on the tip of my tongue. So sometimes, it is an about me page or a compelling story, but it might just be an opportunity that you have in a conversation where a client is asking you a question. They're asking you for advice, and you have a story, something comes up and it's on the tip of your tongue, and you hold back because you're worried about how that person might respond, whether they might judge you. And I encourage you, I invite you to go through it and offer up that nugget anyway, because it may just be exactly what your client needed to hear to go, oh, if she can do it, so can I. If she can share this piece of herself, so can I. If she can be afraid to be embarrassed or called out or any of the other things that we tell ourselves when we hold back from being the truest, fullest expression of ourselves, that's the moment when I say, go for it. Just go for it. I'm not even sure if that was like a whole sentence because I was just like all in the moment. So if that was slightly incoherent, I apologize. So, intention. That's your number one piece. What is my intention? How can this serve? Right? So that's a guiding question always. And secondly, and briefly, is when we go out on that limb, when we share something personal, when we share something that we have our own reservations about sharing, it can be really scary. And so the second piece of what you need to remember, my neighbor just pulled in. It's like end of the day, everyone's getting home from work. The neighbor roofers are like finishing up the last of the job to try and get it done before the last of the light is. And here I am trying to get the last of the daylight and get this post out to you. So, but I digress. The second piece is for yourself to set those boundaries. To know what is me and what is you. Meaning that when you put something out there, it is your responsibility to make it authentic, sincere, in integrity with who you are and what you represent. Yes? That is as far as your responsibility goes. Okay? So this was something that I learned as a dancer. Meaning I could get up on stage and know that if there were 60 people, 100 people, 1,000 people in the audience, there could be 1,000 different responses. And I am responsible for none of them. That is their response. Yes, I am only responsible for creating the experience, for sharing from the deepest part of myself, to be vulnerable, to let you in. But it's always with the understanding that here's this gift. What you do with it is up to you. Yeah? So keep that in mind, because the more that we're out there, the more that we're out on that limb, and trust me, it's a strong limb, okay? It's borne many before us and will bear many after us. Yes, but it can feel kind of precarious to be out there and so exposed. Yes. Just keep in mind that there will be people who will pipe up, where their ego will be reflecting back, and it's going to reflect back that judge, that that naysayer, that whatever, who's going to say, I don't like that scarf. What is that scarf? What is she doing with her hair? What is up with that? I don't get this whole message thing. Vulnerability. I'm a plumber. What is she talking about? This has nothing to do with me. Yes, right? Those voices are going to be out there. Let them come. It just means that your message is getting out there and you're getting heard and you're inciting the response, right? I touched on this last week too. We are responsible for inciting the response. That is our job as leaders, as artists, as entrepreneurs. We are out on the precipice. We are out on that limb, leading the way. And it means taking a few risks, right? If anybody can take a risk, it's you. Because if you're a business owner, you're taking risks. So I invite you to take this risk and walk through your fear and be vulnerable anyway, and share that piece of you that is scaring you to share. So I want to wrap up today's post by challenging you to share in the comments below. So, of course, my big temptation is to say, all right, giddy up, share something that you've been holding back, something that you've been terrified to share. And I do. If you have the ovaries or the balls to do that, brava to you. Go ahead and put it down there. So that would be like my extra credit challenge. All right. But what my challenge would be to you at the minimum is to say to yourself, is there something? Is there something that I'm holding back that could be of use to someone out there? And just to question and to wrestle with that and say, why is it that I haven't shared that yet? How might I share that in a way that feels powerful and centered to me? So my challenge is a dare then. I dare you to share your feelings about this challenge, but I double dog dare you to share something that you haven't shared before that you know is going to, like a divining rod, like a lightning rod, is going to attract the clients who are going to say, oh my gosh, I've had that same feeling. Oh my gosh, I've been there. She is the one for me. He is the one that I've been looking for. Thank you. Okay? So, because that's going to happen. I promise. All right, my loves. You got your dare and you got your double dog dare. And I look forward to seeing you in the comments below. If you're seeing this on YouTube or on Facebook, please do come on over and visit my blog at CheriseSisu.com, where we are going out on a limb to see and be seen as the powerful leading entrepreneurs that we are. I'll see you over there. Welcome.